Don't touch that AM radio dial. A proposed federal mandate for AM radios in new cars could impact Ohioans. Congress introduced the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act, gaining support from 60 bipartisan senators, but getting criticism from the Consumer Technology Association for its potential to increase vehicle costs and stifle innovation. So joining me now with more on whether AM radio is as useful as it used to be is Westminster College communications professor, Dr. Keith Corso. Thanks for taking the time.
Good to be with you.
Good morning. I want to say we've seen radio stations being forced to cut back and having to make layoffs over the years. So moving forward, how useful is AM radio these days if it doesn't get the same amount of listeners as it really used to?
No, of course, through the years, even radio listening in general has kind of fallen off. But, AM radio has become a upper demographic radio, if you will, lots of news and talk. But it has a very significant place, especially in some very rural American towns where they may only have one AM radio station serving their community. So many of those types of towns really depend on that kind of radio station. And when they're in the car, they would like to listen to their community-based radio station. And that's, for many of them, that's on an AM radio.
And meanwhile, many of us these days, no matter where you're located, whether it's urban or rural, we have smartphones, right? Where we can instantly get information on pretty much anything, and music and podcasts. So do people still rely on AM radio, though, when it comes to major emergencies and situations like that?
Well, again, I think it's a generational thing. As I just mentioned a minute ago, upper demographics tend to listen to AM a little bit more than younger. There is, though, this, when an emergency hits, a natural disaster or something like that, the idea with the emergency alert system is to make sure that they hit as many people as possible. AM radio listeners, it gets to your phone, it gets to your FM dial. I really don't think there's as much of an argument that can be made in that area, because everything tends to go off if there's a natural emergency that you have to deal with, your TV, your phone, and everything. So, but there still is a significant portion of the country that does rely on that AM radio ban.
All right. So considering all of this, what would happen if Congress passes this mandate and we eventually see a lot of these stations fizzle out? Do you think that the government would step in to help these AM stations stay on the air to some capacity?
Well, I'm not really sure that that's their role. It shouldn't be, at least in my opinion, to do that. But I really am uncertain as to what's going to happen to AM radio stations should they not find themselves in cars. I'm going to put it this way. I think there's very little chance that this bill does not pass. The NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, is strongly pushing this. And as you said in your open, more than 60 senators are supporting it. And I think it's going to pass, but you never know. Things change in Washington, D.C. on a dime.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us to give this perspective on how many people actually rely on this for communication and all of those other aspects. We appreciate your time.